In the glamorous world of cinema, Anton Yelchin was one of the best rising talents. He was one of his kind among millions of people wishing to make their way into the industry. But fate seemed to have other plans for him. The last moments of his life played out in horribly chilling circumstances that led to his demise. The circumstances of his death were horrifying, to say the least. What do you think became the cause of the young Anton Yelchin's untimely demise? Yelchin was born on March 11, 1989, in Leningrad, Russian Soviet Union. His parents were Irina Karina and Viktor Yelchin, and they were a pair of figure skaters who were stars of the Leningrad Ice Ballet for an astonishing 15 years. His family is that of a Jewish origin, and were subjected to religious and political oppression in the Soviet Union. And things started to only get worse by the anti-Semitic sentiments rapidly growing. Anton was known to be a curious young man with multiple hobbies and a deep love for his career. Join us today as we delve into the details of this tragedy that became the cause of death of the Star Trek hero, Anton Yelchin. Yelchin has also mentioned that his grandparents suffered in ways he can't even begin to understand under Stalin. Nationally, Yelchin's parents were the third-ranked pair team. They qualified for the 1972 Winter Olympics, but unfortunately were not permitted to participate in the event as per the guidelines given by the Soviet authorities. Yelchin said that the exact reason for this was unclear, and in his own words, "I don't exactly know what that was, because they were Jewish or because the KGB didn't want them to travel." Yelchin's family made the bold move and left for the United States in September 1989, when Anton was just 6 months old, and were thereafter granted refugee status from the Department of State. His mother then worked as a figure skating choreographer, and his father as a figure skating coach, having been the iconic Sasha Cohen's first trainer. Yelchin's uncle is the children's author and painter Eugene Yelchin. In an article published in the Los Angeles Times in December 1989, Yelchin's mother stated, "A woman came up, saw Anton and said, 'He's beautiful. He will be actor.' And the woman was in fact not wrong, since Anton, although naturally shy around people, loved creating and narrating stories." Yelchin stated that he wasn't very good at figure skating, which was his parents' profession. As a child, his favorite movie was Space Jam, and he would often react to the scenes from the movie that he found cool in front of his big Bug Bunny toy, as the audience in his room, which was almost like his private movie set. And that was just the beginning of the grand career that awaited him. Yelchin grew up in the San Fernando Valley. He attended the Sherman Oaks Center for Enriched Studies in Tarzana, California, and enrolled at the University of Southern California in the fall of 2007 in order to study film. Yelchin was born with cystic fibrosis, though the details of his medical condition were only revealed posthumously in the year 2017 by a foundation established under his name, known as the Anton Yelchin Foundation. A family friend recognized Anton's talent and knew there was something special, something extraordinary about him, and suggested him acting classes with kids around the same age as him. But the 8-year-old Anton was so shy that for nearly 6 months of being there, he barely talked to anybody and kept to himself and his gaze at his own shoes. Slowly but steadily, Anton started building up courage, self-confidence, and esteem, and started participating more. It is safe to say that those acting classes really got Anton out of his comfort zone and helped him build up a strong foundation for the career that awaited him. After a while, Anton's acting coach suggested Anton attend some auditions. Well, both his parents had full-time jobs, which made it harder for them to take Anton to these various auditions. But despite the underlying circumstances, Anton's mother took this responsibility and did everything in her power to make sure Anton could follow his passion. She made sure to take him to auditions after completing her work for the day, and luckily for Anton, he did land a few roles here and there. After appearing in nearly 7 commercial and TV appearances, Anton expressed to his parents that this wasn't what he had expected, and in response to Anton's views, his parents decided to introduce him to what they refer to as the classic cinema. When Anton was about 11 years old, they started showing him as to what they thought were the good movies. So Anton wouldn't limit himself and think that his favorite movie, Space Jam, was the peak of what the American cinema has to offer. They introduced him to undying classics such as Taxi Driver, Mean Streets, and The Raging Bull. And after watching those, Anton had already to pick out the good ones himself. He almost started studying movies and took notes for hours. Anton started to closely observe people and the way they act and the way they behave, and slowly started to make these insights a part of his acting. Soon enough, with all of this dedication and insight, followed his debut. He was casted in a low-budget movie known as A Man Is Mostly Water in the year 2000. After a while, Anton was hit with a profound realization. He realized what he wanted to do in life, and had finally found his purpose in doing so. Following this, he got an opportunity to act alongside legendary figures in the cinema industry such as Albert Finney, Morgan Freeman, and Anthony Hopkins. This was all just the beginning. After a while, Anton landed a role in the 2001 movie named Hearts in Atlantis, and his role was so iconic that he won the prestigious Young Artist Award for the best performance in a feature film. With his growing popularity, Anton also found it difficult to maintain his privacy, but later came in terms with everything. Many people to this day speak fondly of Anton, and many of his fellow cast members and co-stars describe him as one of the hardest-working young actors they've ever met or worked with. It can be said that Anton was a cherished part of lives of multiple people, as per the descriptions provided by other people. Anton was a very determined young man, while most people usually relaxed while the set lights dimmed. Anton began analyzing and writing detailed notes of every character that he had played, and filling the margins of his scripts with extreme detail. He filled notebook after notebook with many things such as poetry, film criticism, and philosophy. We can soundly say that Anton was a young man filled with a lot of enthusiasm and creativity, and this was just his getaway to express his inner artist and keep a record of his artistic ventures and growth. This dedication nonetheless helped him out a ton as he entered the teenage phase of his life. He got casted in various indie films, and as a dedicated individual, he gave all of himself to his work and did his best. Friends and people often refer to his hard work and admire him. Some even call it the immigrant mentality, which made him always strive for more and never settle. Some might view it as a toxic mindset to have, and others might also call it the lack mindset, where the person is in a state of fear and the fear might be losing what they currently have or might have in the future. But nevertheless, for Anton, it didn't seem like that was the case. He was just a talented guy with dedication and an impeccable work ethic. One time he had to do a scene in Alpha Dog where he was required to get really drunk, unsure of what decision to take and what his next approach should be. He went to confide in his mother and to get her views on what he should do, as he had never gotten drunk before. His mother's natural reaction was that he didn't need to do anything that he wasn't comfortable with, and she also suggested to him that he didn't need to get drunk in order to enact a drunk scene well. However, Anton was dedicated to the authenticity of his craft, and so he decided to push his limits further, and he took a daring step as he went to his parents' liquor cabinet and took 3 shots of tequila. In order to really understand the effect alcohol has on one's body, mind, and behavior, he even decided to film himself during the process. All of Anton's work was undoubtedly impressive and true to himself. His most famous and iconic part had to be that in J.J. Abrams' 2009 Star Trek reboot. In this iconic movie, he plays the part of Pavel Chekhov. The 2009 Star Trek film creates an entire new, different, and alternate timeline in the grand franchise. In this one, Anton Yelchin's portrayal of the character presents Chekhov as a 17-year-old prodigy whose mathematical ability proves to be instrumental in multiple occasions within the film, and whose peculiar accent provides some of the film's much-needed comic relief. Well, here's another thing about this role. Nailing an authentic Russian accent wasn't easy for Anton, since he had basically spent his entire life in the United States, and even his mom's accent wasn't authentic enough for what the role required. So Anton sought the help of his grandfather, and after the release of the movie, Anton's career skyrocketed. He was massively loved, and he also gathered a huge fan following around the world. This character almost seemed like a direct personification of Anton, and was undoubtedly very close to his heart. The character had all the familiarities with Anton himself that others liked and admired so much about him. In the sequel to the movie, however, known as Star Trek Into Darkness, Chekov finds himself being promoted to the chief engineer after Scotty resigns from his post. When Kirk orders him to put on a red shirt, a brief sting is heard as a close-up shows Chekov's nervous face, playing on the reputation of red shirts in the franchise and undeniably just as much as the character's shock regarding his sudden promotion. And in the third film, named Star Trek Beyond, was Anton Yelchin's final appearance as his iconic and much-remembered character Chekov. The film seeing Chekov accompanying Kirk after the entire crew are marooned on an uncharted planet following the destruction of the Enterprise, forcing them to destroy the last of the Enterprise to escape a trap, and later work with the rest of the senior staff to restart a long-lost Starfleet ship to escape the planet and defeat a plan to attack the Federation. Behind these smiles and laughter and Anton's youthful appearance was a little-known secret about Anton. It was about a health condition known as cystic fibrosis that Anton was born with. It is a rare genetic disorder, and in this condition, there happens to be a buildup of mucus around lungs and other vital organs. His parents, aware of the life expectancy of those who suffer with this disorder, which was around 35 to 40 years, chose to shield him from this harsh reality until he was almost an adult. Anton remained blissfully unaware of the dangers surrounding his life up until he was 17. It was when his mother told him that he couldn't be at parties where people relentlessly smoked. And even after getting to know of this disorder, Anton chose not to reveal it to others and remained dedicated to his life and goals. Anton, upon hearing this news, really dedicated himself to staying as healthy as he possibly could. And this included eating healthy, taking his medications on time, and making physical activities a part of his daily schedule. After exhausting days on set, he'd wake up 2 hours early in order to do breathing exercises before his day began. Oftentimes, due to his condition, he had to be hooked up to a breathing machine, had to be pounced against his lungs, and not to mention had to cough up mucus multiple times a day. But on the outside, nobody had any clue of his personal struggles because he would just put up a smile and deal with everything. As he got older, his worry started increasing as well, and he decided that he no longer wished to keep his condition a secret, and so he informed his parents. Despite his personal struggles, Anton had accomplished so much at such a young age and had the potential to accomplish just so much more. He had completed a whopping 69 film and TV projects at the mere age of 27 without missing a single day of work. In 2016, he started preparing for his debut as a director with Travis, which was from a screenplay he had written himself. The title was a tribute to the main character from Taxi, one of the first classics his parents introduced to him. Anton was undoubtedly excited to produce and direct the movie, but that was when tragedy struck him. And in opposition to what you and I might think, it wasn't his life-threatening disease that ultimately led to his demise. He was scheduled for a rehearsal with his friends, but when he didn't show up at the given time, a sense of concern and worry came over his friends, and they just couldn't shake the feeling that something had gone horribly wrong. To check on their friend, they decided to visit Anton's San Fernando Valley home, a place which held many memories of them together. They thought that maybe Anton got caught up because of something urgent or just had a normal delay. An air of uneasiness washed over them. As they approached the residence, they encountered a scene that would haunt them forever. They came to a numbing realization that their beloved friend, Yelchin, was crushed to death by his Jeep Grand Cherokee on June 19, 2016, little more than a month before the scheduled release of Star Trek Beyond on July 22, 2016. All the filming had been completed and post-production for the movie had started. A dedication to Yelchin's memory was inserted into the credits. J.G.A. Abrams, producer of the reboot trilogy and director of its first 2 films, has stated that the role will not be recast for future sequels, implying the character of Chekov will be written out in future films. This was a way to pay tribute to Anton's character. The grieving parents of Anton Yelchin have reached a settlement with the makers of the Jeep Grand Cherokee, the SUV that crushed and killed the Star Trek actor in his driveway in 2016. The confidential settlement agreement between Victor and Irina Yelchin and Fiat Chrysler was filed in the Los Angeles County Superior Court. The Cherokee model was one among 1.1 million vehicles that were recalled about 2 months earlier, when regulators said its gear shifters were confusing drivers, causing the SUVs to roll away unexpectedly and leading to dozens of injuries. The wrongful death and product liability lawsuit alleged that those gear selectors were the cause of the actor's death. In spite of our unbelievable grief, we decided to come here to prevent other families from the same tragedy, Victor Yelchin said when the lawsuit was filed. The untimely demise of Anton was a huge loss to the cinema industry, his parents, friends, and also his fans. He was a young man with a bright future awaiting him, and still many years left in his expected lifespan as well. There were multiple factors that led to his death. Many condolences to his family and friends who lost an integral part of their lives. What do you think about this case? Is this a mere accident? Or is there something that might have prevented this tragedy? Do let us know your opinions.